All right, I think we're ready to roll.
You're listening to Words Like That with Cole Powell, a storytelling podcast.
All right, folks, I'm Cole Powell. This is Words Like That, and today I'm going to be talking about Thunderbolts, also now known as the new Avengers. A little late getting this out. This movie came out last week. This is the latest film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and if anybody's watching this that has watched any of the previous Marvel comic book superhero videos or podcast episodes that I've done, you know I absolutely love superhero movies, comic books. I have been a Marvel fan since essentially infancy, and when the MCU came out, I used to take vacation days from work just to go see these movies on opening day. Absolutely loved them. Over the last few years, the MCU kind of lost me. The last MCU movie I watched was 3 years ago in theaters, and it was Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I was really not a big fan of that movie. I felt like that they completely undercut Scarlet Witch's character from WandaVision, which also had some issues with that show, but overall it's a pretty good show. And that kind of soured me, and I haven't really kept up with the MCU since. I take that back. I have kept up with it through reading articles, watching trailers, but not actually watching the movies and the shows. Thunderbolts was the first movie that the closer we got to release, the better it looked and the better it sounded. And once it was released and the reviews started coming out, positive reviews, positive word of mouth from the early screens, I decided to go check it out. And it was not bad, but it also is not the return to form that a lot of the early buzz was heralding this movie as. I don't think that we're back. This is just like phase 1, 2, and 3 of the MCU. I also certainly don't think that it's an upper echelon, top tier MCU movie, but it does have a lot going for it. The main thing that it has going for it is the cast. All the returning players, Florence, Pugh, Sebastian Stan, David Harbour, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who will always be Elaine to me. She does a great job in this. Wyatt Russell. I absolutely love watching Wyatt Russell because he looks and sounds like and acts just like his father from 30, 40 years ago. So it's literally like watching Kurt Russell reincarnated on screen. And it's particularly great to see him in an MCU movie because it's like seeing young Kurt Russell. I know we already got old Kurt Russell as Ego, the Living Planet in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, but it's like seeing a young Kurt Russell in an MCU movie. I just love watching Wyatt, particularly since I'm a huge Kurt Russell fan. But the biggest and the best cast member of this for me was Lewis Pullman, who is the son of another great actor, Bill Pullman. And as far as I know, I had never seen Lewis Pullman in anything. If I have, it escaped me. I didn't realize who he was. I don't remember him. And when I heard he had been cast in this movie, my thought was, well, is he actually a good actor, or is this a case of nepotism? Is he just getting this role because he's Bill Pullman's son? Or is he just getting any role because he's Bill Pullman's son? This guy absolutely blew me away. A little bit of a spoiler alert here, which if you've seen any of the advertisement, if you've read anything on the movie, you already know this. Lewis Pullman is the lead villain, or becomes the lead villain in the movie, the Sentry. And this character has a lot of problems. He's got drug history. He's got domestic abuse history. He is suffering from some type of undefined mental disorder. He kind of sounds like a bipolar personality disorder. And because of all these issues, he essentially plays 3 or 4 versions of the same character in this movie, and he nails them all. You believe him in every single role, even though it's the same role, it's different variations because he's got all these problems going on. And he just brings so much nuance to each of the slightly different portrayals. The guy was incredible. In fact, I would go so far to say that he is top 4, maybe top 3 MCU villain performances of all time behind Willem Dafoe, Green Goblin in Spider-Man No Way Home, Tom Hiddleston Loki. If you don't count James Spader as Ultron because it's just voice work, then I would put Lewis Pullman in that number 3 slot. If you count James Spader, maybe number 4, but regardless, what company to be in there? I mean, those are some heavy hitters, and Lewis Pullman's role in this movie is right up there with them all. Absolutely love the guy. Can't wait to see more of this character and more of Lewis Pullman in any role. The biggest letdown of the movie to me was the humor. It's very much this ironic, subversive, let's do some jokes that are unexpected, like let's have a serious scene and you expect it to continue to be serious and go this way, but let's just undercut it with a joke. Or let's kind of make some jokes that point out that we're in a comic book movie. And this is a type of humor, this ironic humor, that my generation, the millennials, ate up. We love this stuff, and we had plenty of Gen X filmmakers that would give it to us. And a lot of that was in some of the really good early MCU movies. I think about Joss Whedon had some moments like that. He kind of established that humorous tone in the first Avengers, which I still think is one of, if not the greatest, objectively, all things considered, Marvel Cinematic Universe film. And then James Gunn came in. I think he took it to a next level, kind of brought it to its apex with the first Guardians of the Galaxy. And both of those movies were great. I loved them. Not only does the humor in this movie that's in the same vein as those movies, not only does it not work in and of itself, but I think we're beyond the point of that style of humor. I think things are changing. I think people are looking for maybe something a little bit more serious. I know I am, certainly. It's like, yeah, we're kind of beyond the wink and the nudge and the, hey, we know we're in a comic book movie and, oh, let's make a joke here just to subvert expectations. And I could be wrong. Maybe there is still an appetite for that. But for me, it just didn't work. And it felt like that the writers had a mandate from Disney or from Marvel to go back to 2014, which my thesis is 2014 was the best overall year for the MCU. Not necessarily the peak in terms of quality or its popularity, but I don't think any other year had a better set of MCU movies. That year had Captain America Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. And those films were, to me, both the best of the two broad sides of the MCU, the two subtypes of MCU films. Winter Soldier was more grounded, action-oriented, realistic, dealt with some, I would say, more philosophical and real-world relevant issues. And it did have some moments of humor, but it was all really organic, more like what Christopher Nolan did in the Dark Knight trilogy. And that represents like the apex of one side of the MCU. Guardians of the Galaxy was a little bit more flamboyant and boisterous, bombastic, just about everything, but particularly the humor, very, very tongue-in-cheek, a lot of jokes all the way around, a lot of subversive humor, a lot of ironic stuff going on. And both of those movies were fantastic. I think they're two, I put them probably at least in the top 3, possibly vying for the number 1 spot of best MCU movie ever. But I think those were the apex of those two sides of the MCU. Well, I feel like what the mandate was for Thunderbolts, or New Avengers as it's now been rebranded, was let's take both of those movies and kind of combine the sensibilities to make Thunderbolts. So let's have this more grounded, real world heroes, anti-hero team thing going on. But then also let's put in some winks and nods, and I just don't think that it worked. I think that this film would have been much better if they would have stuck with a Winter Soldier type tone to it, as opposed to trying to mix in the humor and some of the more subversive elements. And another issue that I had that was, it wasn't a humorous element, but it was a subverting of expectations. Spoiler alert here, right out the gate, they kill one of the characters that we think is going to be one of the main cast. And it was shocking for sure, but it was only shocking because we expected to get to know this character, but beyond the shock value, it didn't really accomplish anything because we didn't care enough about this character to care that the character is now dead. And now we're never going to get to know the character, so the character is now wasted. So that just didn't really work for me. But there were some things in the plot that I thought worked really well that were unexpected. The first act being the team stuck in this lab and they're trying to get out for basically the first half of the movie. That was unexpected. I thought this was going to be like a 5-10 minute thing. They're going to be out. Not the case at all. And also, Bucky as a congressman. I didn't think that this was going to work. I knew this going in, that he was supposed to be a congressman, and it didn't really make any sense to me because Bucky didn't seem like the type of person that would be able to run a successful political campaign because he would have to become a politician, and he's clearly not a politician. Besides that, it's hard for me to believe that enough people would overlook his past, his known past as a world-class assassin for the other team to actually elect him. And the movie just kind of skips over all that, just expects you to accept it and move on. And that's where we start out with his character. And at that point, though, it makes a lot of sense because they show that he is not a politician. He doesn't like being in this role, and he is quickly tired of trying to go through proper channels to get things done through committee. And spoiler alert, he decides to just go do it the way he knows works, which is bombs, motorcycle, and kidnapping. So I really like that. Again, the movie had a lot of good things going for it. I didn't think it was bad. Overall rating, I would probably give it objectively in terms of quality, all things considered, a 7 out of 10, which is not a bad rating at all. As far as personal enjoyment, I'd probably rank it a little bit lower than that, maybe a 6 out of 10, because I just really did not care for the humor in this. I thought it undercut the picture. But again, not a bad film. Now, as far as where is the MCU going? When this movie was first projected for the week, as we were getting close to the opening weekend, the numbers looked pretty good. It was like 80 million, which would have been a really strong opening weekend for a recent MCU movie. And it had good reviews. There was a lot of good word of mouth, and Marvel immediately, I feel like, went into, we got a hit on our hands. And to a degree they do, but it fell 6 million under projections and ended up like 74 million, which actually ended up putting it, I think only the Marvels had a lower opening out of any MCU movie, so it ended up being pretty low. And it's now been rebranded as the New Avengers. That appears to have caused a little bit of a bump. And the word is that Marvel is seeing this as a win, as a hit, seeing that they have the MCU back on track, and this is how they're going to move forward with their movies from now on. And I hope that's not the case. I hope when the dust settles and they kind of look at the numbers and maybe some more audience reviews come through as people over time see this on streaming in the coming months, that maybe Marvel will think, well, hey, maybe there was some room for improvement here. It certainly does not have me excited for Fantastic Four or Avengers Doomsday. Spoiler alert, there's a tease for both of those movies in the post-credit scenes of Thunderbolts. And I gotta tell you, I just didn't care. When this movie ended, I just didn't care. I was not, oh man, I can't wait for Fantastic Four. Oh man, I can't wait for Avengers Doomsday. That being said, I will reserve judgment as we get closer. I haven't been really feeling the Fantastic Four footage that we've been seeing. The leaked trailer that I saw had me really excited. Then when the official teaser came out, not so much. Ever since then, I've been less and less excited about Fantastic Four. We haven't really seen anything from Doomsday, Avengers Doomsday. They just started shooting that. I am intrigued by Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. I know a lot of fans thought that was uninspired casting. I disagree. I think it's genius. Robert Downey Jr. is a great actor. To see him switch and play this villainous role, I'm curious to see how that's gonna play out. But if the movie is anything like Thunderbolts, I'm not sure if I would go to the theaters and spend 2.5 or 3 hours, however long the movie's going to be, and spend like $11.50 for matinee now where I am, and I know we're on the low end of ticket prices in the country. But I just don't know if I'm going to rush out to see these movies. So what did you think? Did you see Thunderbolts? Did you think this was a return to form for the MCU? Did you think it was a huge misstep? Did you think it was mediocre? Does it have you excited for the next MCU pictures? Have you not seen it, but you're planning on seeing it, or maybe you're going to check it out on streaming? Let us know in the comments. And that is going to do it for this episode of Words Like That. Be sure to subscribe wherever you're listening to this. If you're watching it on the Randomine Records YouTube channel, subscribe, like, all that stuff. If you're watching it on Spotify or listen to it on Apple Podcasts, some other platform, subscribe there. And we'll see you next time.
Can't handle words like that. Theme Words Like That by Cole Powell. Lead in by Ryan Purser. From Wicked Woman by Four Way Stop. Original cover photo by Kelly Bagwell. Recorded at Randomine Records. Section 107 of U.S. copyright law allows for the fair use of copyrighted material for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, parody, or research.